Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Education Lady Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. So please stay with us. Only 3 minutes. You've heard me say before, these are all great companies. I use them. You should be using them too. So listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say many times, probably one of the best purchases I ever made. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the platform. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Snap. If you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results, well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with tremendous success, and so will you. Check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is the official sports administration platform for a number of states, thousands of ADs, and even if your school uses another platform, you can be a home campus school. Their athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to get started. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team help you become a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase everything your department's doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com for more information. Let's say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Um, if you're looking for a really cool way to showcase your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of these units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about sponsors? The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check it out today. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. I didn't get my master's from the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And another neat thing, while you're earning your master's degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to thank Hometown. Hometown continues to change the game for schools and organizations with their solutions that include things like digital ticketing, athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, even a coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. Go to hometown.com to get started. And we want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, for student athletes, for coaches, teachers, especially parents. And the information that would come back, almost always over the top positive. I'm talking 98%. And it'll probably be the same for you. The surveys also allowed us to hear from those squeaky wheel parents and hear their concerns and address them before they turned into something big. But having that 98% approval, incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com, schedule a session with them so that they can help you take your athletic program from good to great. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Regular listeners know that occasionally we go international, and we are taking our very first visit to South Africa. Our guest today is Dr. Nadia Snegireva, and she has a great background in athletics, particularly application of science into athletics. And I'm excited to have her on the podcast. Dr. Snegireva, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, particularly because of the incredible time difference between South Africa and, let's say, Central Florida. Let's go and jump right in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So, give us your background. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? As we like to say, tell us your life story in 2 minutes.
All right, I'll try. So, my story is not really straightforward. So, it starts in Russia. This is where I was born and I grew up. And a lot of kids, I wanted to do this and that, lots of things. But then I don't want to tell you how old I am, but when I was a little kid, the Soviet Union collapsed. and and that was really hard time. And life became quite a struggle. But anyway, I kind of powered through, and then I went to the university there. It was not the best decision, let me tell you. I studied political science in Russia. You wouldn't want to know the things that I learned. and then, and then after completing my studies, I decided this is not a country I want to be in. So I went to Germany and I did my master's there, and then I worked there, and then I went to South Africa and I did my PhD there, and then I went back to Germany, and this is where I kind of spent the COVID time, and I was working a lot in the corporate, and then I became a mom, and then I came back to South Africa. So this is my kind of geographic little path. Yeah.
Oh, no, again, people that listen to the podcast, they hear me say this all the time. I just love hearing the stories and the journeys. We're going to take a little deeper dive into, I think, a lot of those stops, but I want to go all the way back to growing up. I think in the United States, there's people have an image of, I won't say, Russia, but your European countries and how sport is just really highly organized and government run. What are some of your memories of growing up as a kid? Was it just, playing games, or were you involved in that, these are my words, sport machine at all?
Yeah, no. So I'm a daughter of athletes. My both parents are mountain climbers, of extreme athletes, I should say. And actually, they are still doing it. They are still climbing. They are still judging climbing competitions and things like that. So, and of course, this kind of had a very big impact on me when I was a kid. So again, of course, all kids play and run and do a lot of things. I tried a lot of different things, gymnastics and this and that. But then I had to, because life was such a chaos. So I stopped all organized stuff for quite a while. And then when I was a teenager, I followed my parents' footsteps. So I was doing mountain climbing for a while, and then when I was a student, I got into competitive ballroom dancing, and that I did for many years. That was my big passion. And so even now, here in South Africa, at the university where I work, I teach dance to the students as their practical. So biokineticists and a future physiologists, they have to do some practicals, and one of them is dance. So that's what I do. And then my little son, he started doing basketball when he was 3 months old.
Well, I'm trying to decide which way I want to go with this. I guess you're a scientist, you're an athlete. The dance fascinates me because I think it's been shown that let's say whether it's basketball or football or soccer, whatever sport it is, those athletes, both men and women, who also have some kind of background in dance or ballet, seem to really excel athletically. Is there, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but is there like a physiological reason that dance has that impact? Am I making myself clear on that question?
Yes, you're making yourself very clear, and there is a lot of evidence. Dance is one of the, I mean, if you're doing basketball, you will say basketball is the best thing you can do for life. Yeah, if you're playing soccer, you will say soccer is the thing. I've spent many decades dancing, so I will say competitive dancing, that's the thing. But actually, there is a lot of research for high performance athletes, but also for different, let's say, neurodegenerative diseases, also for oncology. The dance really, really helps because it challenges your brain, it challenges your muscle. So, just to give you an example of the students I was training now, many of them are professional athletes. You know how rugby is huge here in South Africa, and probably yeah, and those rugby players or cricket players, very good, university team players, they say in the dance we felt the muscles we didn't even know we had, and so it activates your body, it helps build your core, but also it's very challenging on the brain. And this is where the science is going a lot, is to show that your athletic performance is not just below the neck, it's also above the neck. So it's what happens in your brain, your perceptual, your cognitive skills. And dance is really good because you have to focus on so many things at once. So when you do dance, you have to listen to the music, you have to focus on your partner, you have to make sure you don't collide into others and don't bump into them. And you have to think of your dance steps, which are not so easy, and directions in the room all at the same time. And then you have to hold your posture, and it's quite straining on the muscle. And then so your decision making becomes really good, and that you can transfer to any sport. Right. And then it works on your balance because you have to constantly be well balanced on one foot. Balance is also great for any sport. I could go on forever.
No, again, it makes perfect sense. You talk about the balance, the core, holding those positions. I love that point about the spatial awareness of all the other things going on. Plus, you changing direction, agility and quickness, the jumping involved. Wow, just very, we could do a whole show on that. Um, let's go back to you. You mentioned your undergraduate experience was, in political science. Um, was there a moment that not so much you mentioned that you didn't want to, do political science anymore, but was there a moment that this whole physiological approach that it was I'm losing my words here. Was there just that singular moment that you knew, hey, I know I don't want to do this, but I do want to do this, or did you gradually get into the physiological approach?
That was gradual. I think my own experience, because I was as a dancer, so it didn't happen right after I finished my degree, because then there was a lot of life happening in between. So it was a very gradual process. First, I moved to Germany. I found my feet here. I did my master's. I started dancing. And then with dancing, I became very, very competitive, very, very quickly, very ambitious. And I started seeking for ways to improve my own performance. And then I also started working at a biometric company doing eye tracking, producing eye tracking devices. And those are also used in athletic training quite a lot. So, and there it kind of combined into a big interest in sports performance, in health, in using technology, using research. So life kind of pushed me there. And this is why I also then went and did a PhD specifically in sports medicine, to see sports science and sports medicine, to see, well, to learn everything available there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, we're going to jump into. I didn't mention that Dr. Snegireva is also the founder of her own company, Practical Application of Sport Science, PASS. We're going to talk about that in a future segment. Let's go and take a quick break, but we are going to come back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to their website and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say many times, probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, uh, talk to their folks, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD podcast. Once again, our guest today is Dr. Nadia Snegireva. She is the founder of a company called Practical Application of Sports Science. She's also in South Africa. Before we get to that, Nadia, you mentioned that you worked for a number of companies in this area of sports science. Can you kind of talk about that journey and some of the different things that you did that I'm going to guess led you or inspired you to found your own company?
Yes. So, as I said, the journey was not straightforward, was not very fast, and I have a feeling that life just pushed me in that direction. So, I worked in a biometric company doing eye tracking technology. It was extremely interesting. And then using that technology, basically, I took the eye tracker and I went to South Africa to do a PhD. Worked with, surprise, rugby players who experienced a concussion. So I used eye tracking to see if I can diagnose concussion better. And then I went after concluding my PhD. So, like doing science or doing research, doing the PhD was really great and exciting. So, I was writing these articles, I was presenting at the conferences, I was getting all this recognition. But then also research is kind of very often it's not applied, it's not practical, even if it's even if people claim that it's an applied research, still there is a silence of information that nobody can really digest. So I became a little bit disillusioned and I went back, and then I worked in pharmaceutical companies. I was doing strategy and innovation, and basically that was about advising the leaders of very big pharma companies on some strategic issues and again that was a lot about synthesizing lots of information and presenting it in a clear, understandable, actionable way. And then these two insights of being in science and then being in the industry, they kind of combined. And then the third thing happened where I became a mom. And this is where I really took a break. I stepped back and I reconsidered my priorities. And then I decided I will focus only on the things that are really worth my time and effort spent away from my family. Because, when your time is really limited, then you start prioritizing drastically. And this is where I decided my family is my priority. So everything that I do outside must be really important to me. And this is when I found PASS. So I decided that this is drawing from my previous experience. I thought this is what really floats my boat. Yeah, and so I took my son. We moved to South Africa. I started doing some research again at the university, but now focusing. Now I do exercise oncology, so looking how exercise can help chemotherapy patients to cope with the side effects better, and also work with students, so teaching dance, and PASS is my second baby. Yeah, so it's my big passion where I advise top performing clubs on how to get even topper.
Yeah, again, I'm excited to hear more about PASS, but you mentioned that you did work, with rugby in the area of concussions. Obviously, here in the United States, American football and concussions, that's always a big discussion. Um, is there and I guess an exchange of information, a sharing of the research between the rugby world and the football world? What do you, I guess, do you have any thoughts on, American football?
But I don't know specific. I know that the science is very similar, yeah, and there is also my study it was using rugby and soccer, but then there was we tried to combine different sports codes so that it's across different sports fields, but that didn't fully work because the approaches are very different. Rugby and American football are way closer, but then there is again a difference of having a helmet. There is quite a lot of research how it affects some of the things. So the wearing a helmet protects your brain, but it also makes you more fearless. Yeah, so it has positive and negative sides. The general concussion mechanism is similar, but at the same time it's very complex because your brain is just so complex, and that's why it's so difficult to diagnose and to manage concussion. Because if it just your symptoms vary so much depending on where the impact was, you may have either dizziness or nausea or vision problems or headache or all of them or none of them, something completely different. So it's a very complex injury, yeah, and how different sports codes handle this is also very different. So in soccer, there is a lot of opinion that the concussion doesn't happen that much, but it's also, let's say, political because it's very difficult. In rugby, it's easier. You can remove a player, you can test him, and you can put him back. In soccer, you cannot do that. Yeah, if you remove a player, then it's for good. So the players will never admit that they have a concussion. They will stumble and walk drunk, but they will say, "No, no, I'm fine. I'm good."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm hopefully I'm not putting you on the spot here too much, but I just the questions just keep popping into my mind. I guess from the rugby perspective, maybe two questions. You talked about the headgear. Now, occasionally, I'll see a rugby match on television, and some of the players have like the soft helmet. I guess is there is that shown? Is there any science that says that helps reduce concussions? Is it just something that players are wearing to maybe reduce a superficial injury or something? And then I guess my other question, well, let's go and stay with that. Okay, do the soft helmets, do they have any benefit? I guess according to research.
Yes, there is, or there has been in the last decade probably a lot of research on different helmets. And this is a great thing living in the age that we live, that there is so much different technology. So you have, of course, the downside is you are totally overwhelmed. You want to try every technological fad and everything. But if you stay focused and you can do your proper homework and investigate what really works, there is a lot of research on soft helmets, different technologies tested very well. And now I also see, and I'm quite happy to see that quite a lot of players are wearing soft helmets. Also now here at the Stellenbosch Fields, watching the players train, they also wear the helmets, and I think it's a very good thing. Yeah, because it does help against concussion. Also, what happens a lot in contact sports is the let's call it subconcussive impacts. Yeah, the minor impacts which don't give you a full-blown concussion. Don't want to downplay their severity, can also be quite a serious thing. But the thing is, just from bumping into each other, you get a lot of head impacts, and this soft helmet also helps protect from that because this is known to accumulate in
Right.
athletes.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We hear that a lot in the last several years here in the States about it's not that one big hit, but it's that accumulation of concussive events. There, I'm sounding very scientific. All right, here's my other question. Again, from a rugby standpoint, in the United States, in the last couple of years, they developed protocols, the, concussion evaluation program. Number one, did a concussion occur? If it did, there's a return to play protocol and steps that the athlete has to, demonstrate, they're pain-free or symptom-free before they can move on to the next level, which the final level would be actual return to play. Is there something similar in place for rugby?
Yes, yes, there is. Yes, there is a very strict. I think rugby has one of the most solid. Without, I don't know the protocols from other sports, to be honest, but rugby has a very, very solid step-by-step protocol, and it's well communicated to the sports doctors, and it's very established, and it's being updated every few years. Now, I don't remember, it was recently, it was maybe 2021, but I may be mistaken by a couple of years when the last consensus statement was released with the updated return to play protocol, but also managing the prolonged symptoms after, and oh no, excuse me, this is not the correct terminology. The correct one is the persisting symptoms after the concussion, because sometimes they may persist for a long time. There was a big discussion about the terminology there alone, because you cannot call them prolonged or persistent, because you want to imply that they will resolve with some time. So there a lot of science there. Let's not go there. Very, very solid, to answer your question, very solid protocols, yes.
Oh, well, that's great to hear. Okay, and again, hopefully there's some alignment, I guess, between the two sports. They're different, but again, very similar. All fascinating stuff. Let's go and take another quick break, but we are going to come back for more with our guest, Dr. Nadia Snegireva from South Africa and the founder of PASS. We're going to hear all about that and more in our next segment. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to our good friends at Snap Mobile, particularly Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraising project and been disappointed in the results? Well, I'm telling you, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it, our parents loved it. I'm telling you, it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out all of their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to say thank you to Home Campus. Home Campus is the official high school sports administration platform for several states for thousands of ADs. And even if your state uses a different platform, you can be a home campus school. I'm telling you, their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. To find out more, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We want to thank our good friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a big win or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your athletic department is doing, the team at Gipper is going to have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com for more information. And don't forget to mention the podcast. That's Gipper.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Once again, our guest is Dr. Nadia Snegireva. Nadia, we mentioned that part of your journey is you decided to found your own company. Can you share with our listeners kind of the how that happened, why it happened, and then obviously we want to hear about some of the resources that are available to them.
All right, sure. Yes, and thanks for asking me that. Thanks for letting me talk about my my baby and my passion a little. Yeah, in a nutshell, PASS, what we do is we are a, let's say, personal sports science translator for coaches, for athletic directors. The thing is, so I think I hope the listeners know that the sports science is exploding. There are lots of scientific publications every year. Yeah, for baseball or for basketball, there will be 1,000. For soccer, there will be 2,500 articles written and published every year. Well, written way more, but published There will be in those numbers. And there is no way in the world an athletic director or a coach who is busy managing their team and training their athletes will be able to sift through all of that. And even in the top sports clubs in the major league or that level, uh, those have dedicated resources, but even they cannot keep up with all these science. And not only that, but you also need to do the quality control because not all science is created equal, right? So some of that is really flawed, and that is what we do. So we look at so basically how it works. The companies or the clubs come to us and they ask specific questions, something that is, and I can give you a bit better idea of how it works later. And then we look at all the science out there across sports codes, but definitely also directly in the affected sports code. And then we give a very short, concise, and applicable answer. So the science recommends this and that works in that sport, but your demands may be slightly different because of that and that. So let's say, for example, if science is talking a lot about sports and conditioning, what works there, it might not necessarily be applicable to velocity-based sport or reaction-based sport for, let's say, baseball. Yeah, and what works in a very fast-paced environment won't necessarily work in golf. Right. So, considering all that, we give recommendations, but sometimes there is not enough evidence that that would work specifically for this club. So then what we do is we go and design in-house studies to validate the findings of the science with this specific team and see if it works. So basically, we give intelligence, validated intelligence.
Again, everything you were saying made great sense to me. I know not every one of our listeners has the science background, but you're absolutely right. There is so much information out there, and I think coaches and even athletic directors they tend to focus more on skill development and conditioning and things like that. But there's a number of factors that affect an athlete's ability to get better. And again, I just think it's so cool. And let's go and do this now. We'll do it at the end of the podcast. If one of our listeners wants to find out more about the resources that are available to them through your company, or if they just want to connect with you and add you to their network, what's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah, so the best way is either through the website. The website is sportscience.pro. And I think it's quite easy to remember, and there is a contact form there, or through LinkedIn. I know that so you can search for PASS, Practical Application for Sports Science, and just follow because I regularly, or my team actually regularly posts short snippets of information based on research publications, just to give a taste of what is out there. And you can also connect to me personally. I know my name is not very easy to remember or spell, so that's why probably the easiest is the website, sportscience.pro.
Right. Well, again, that website, sportscience.pro, Pro, and also Nadia's on LinkedIn. That's how you and I connected, and all the information is there. Um, let's let's take a deep dive. I know you have a ton of examples, but maybe share one or two where you were contacted by a coach or an athletic director or a sports club, and you and your team were able to come in and help them achieve that desired result. Hey, we want to get better. We want to win. What's a couple of examples of how uh, practical application of sports science, I was stumbling there, how your company has helped them achieve their goals?
All right. So past my one of my first clients is a Major League Baseball team, so in the US. And how we work together is the team gets together probably in the beginning of the year. I don't know exactly when, and they think about all the burning questions that they have. They make a long list, and then I moderate. A colleague of mine, we moderate that. They every month they review this long list. They add the questions that become more burning, and they vote for the questions that are most important for them to get answered. And then we take the question number one, and then we create a short and sweet and concise fact sheet based on the scientific research. And the questions vary a lot, so they can be very specific, very how to improve decision making in hitters, or they also can be very broad. How do we recover better? What is the best periodization strategy within the year, within the season, within the week? And yeah, and so this is one thing. We do all these questions based on the existing research, and then sometimes there is a need to validate when there is a very important study or there is a hypothesis that the coaches would like to have tested, but the hypothesis is quite novel, so you don't have research on that. Then we set up an in-house study with the athletes. We divide them into two groups, and we test. Okay, this one is doing this protocol. This one is not doing this protocol. Will they improve or not? Yeah, and yeah, so there are a lot of different examples. It's very often it's quite specific, but for general things, I think there is a lot about mindfulness, about recovery, also about how to well, how to get this 1% improvement when you're already doing everything. Yeah, how to get to the top of the top, and how to become crème de la crème. And but there, what the science always points to is individualization. I think now in our day and age, this is becoming possible, and this is really fascinating, where you say we are not training robots, we are looking at every and each individual athlete, because they are all so different. They have their strengths and their weaknesses, and we cannot just say, okay, everybody must do strength and conditioning. You do look at each individual player, and you see, okay, this one needs to build his muscle mass, so he has to go through muscle building exercises, because before you can, let's say it's a well, whoever, it's a bowler in cricket, yeah, or it's a in rugby, yeah, you cannot run if you don't have strong legs, and if you don't have muscle, yeah, you can't throw if you don't have enough muscle in your arm. So those who do not have enough muscle, they have to go through muscle building exercise. Those who have enough muscle strength, they have to work on their different thing. And there you look, okay, do they need agility? Do they need decision making on the field? Do they need hand-eye coordination, right? So, and you can measure everything. And then you need to look at your week, and you need to create a very good periodization program. And for example, there, what we found very interesting is that basically your optimal performance is in this golden zone between too much monotony, very bad, and strong spikes. So going from very low workload to very high workload, yeah, also very bad. But then you have to find optimal balance in between, and this is where avoiding a monotony, but also avoiding spikes, and within every week. And you have to measure that. And nowadays, it's really amazing how well you can measure, even with the free tools, very simple tools. Like for your workload, you have this rate of perceived exertion, RPE, where you can just simply ask your player, okay, how difficult was the session today on the scale between 0 and 10, and then you multiply it by the minutes of training, and then you get your number, and then you see, okay, do I have all the eights and nines all the time? Not good. This is high monotony and high workload. Yeah, this will burn your athlete out. Do I have going from 1 to 10 in one day? Also not good. Yeah, you increase the risk of injury. So a lot of examples altogether.
No, no. Again, I love it. And again, for our listeners, if you go to the website, sportscience.pro, you can really get an idea of all the services that are available. And as we said before, there's just so much research out there, good research, but What do you do with that? That's where Dr. Snegravia and her team can help. And just very quickly on the website, optimizing training for baseball players. Here's one on rugby, another one on baseball, decision making in hitters. All you baseball coaches out there. Check out sportscience.pro for more information. Let's go and take another quick break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are going to come back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about sponsors? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their great products today. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was a great experience. And while they were earning their master's degree, they also were able to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We'd also like to thank our good friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. Go to hometown.com for more information. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Nadia, you and I were talking during the break, and you mentioned something that you encounter in working with your clients frequently, and it happens over here in the States as well. Can you share that a little bit with our listeners, again, who are athletic directors and coaches, and why it's so impactful to be aware of this?
Yeah, so I think what I see very often is we live in a day and age where there is amazing technologies developing every day. There is AI, there are all these biometric technologies, there are sensors, markers, and EEG, and your IMUs, and Viken, motion capture, all these things. And then not even starting to talk about the supplements and all the new training approaches and fads. And you can use your phone in a million different ways, and your smartwatch, and all these things. And it's really great technology and great ideas, but then I think very often the temptation is to chase every shiny object. Yeah, and I would like to warn against that, because what my favorite principle in life in general is the so-called Pareto principle, the so-called 2080 rule, which says that your 80% of performance is achieved by applying 20% of effort, and then just the last bits, they require the most effort. And I think very extremely important is to always get your basics right, to cover the fundamentals before, so cover the first 80% solidly, before going on top. And very often they're not very sexy. Yeah, so it's your nutrition, your sleep, your sound strength and conditioning program, your periodization, you're focusing on individual athlete, the basics. Yeah, and once you've covered that, you can look at technologies, but you should not expect the technology to solve everything in one click. Yeah, it's not a valid promise.
Yeah, again, it just it happens so much. And you mentioned, yeah, it's not sexy, it's not exciting, but it's those boring foundational things that are so impactful for success, improvement in performance, winning teams, etc. Um, we were also talking, and you mentioned another factor that I think you probably see it more than men than women, where oh yeah, that's science stuff. I know all that. Can you comment a little bit about how we can do a better job, all of us, of I guess being more open to, let's say, real science as opposed to the latest fad that comes along.
Yeah, so I definitely don't want to downplay the importance of experience. I think this is where your know-how that you've built over the years and your knowledge, it's extremely valuable. Yeah, but what I would like to encourage the listeners to do is to think a bit broader because I'm sure the way you work with your athletes, you know intuitively a lot of right things, but then where science helps is you can understand why it actually works, and then you will know better. Okay, this approach works with this group of people because, but then it is likely not to work with those people. Your well, can't think of a specific example because the sports codes are just so different. But, yeah, and then science also opens doors to experimenting with different approaches, which your experience is very valuable, but it's only that much, right? And science can give you inspiration to try out new things, and maybe it will help you take another step to bring your athletes to the next level. And I don't know, the examples could be, they are widely known, but they are also quite well supported by science. For example, the constraints-led approach that you should not, or the recommendation is that very often coaches rely on drills, where on the prescriptive drills where they tell the athlete, okay, do this, do that, and kind of give them very specific recommendations of how to improve their performance. But this is more, we don't want to create robots. We want to create elite athletes always. Yeah, this is our aspiration. And the constraints-led approach says, for example, that you should rather manipulate the constraints. So you say well, to give you an example, if you see that your player is holding on to the ball for too long and is developing a tunnel vision, is missing open teammates, then instead of just telling him pass, pass, now you have to pass, you rather create a small-sided game, and you create one simple constraint that you can only hold, or you only are allowed 2 touches before you have to pass, or you can only hold for 2 seconds before you're forced to pass. And then the players suddenly, they don't have time to overthink. And then suddenly you see that you don't need to give them that many instructions. They can actually think for themselves. And this is what we want, right? And then science also talks a lot about implicit learning, where the athlete has to come up with their own solutions. You just give them what they have to achieve. And they have to figure out what exactly they have to do with their body to achieve that. And that makes your athlete more resilient. And some of the listeners may be aware of these things, but some of the listeners either explicitly aware or already doing it because they saw that it works. But then knowing that there is solid science behind it, it probably helps you implement this more in a more structured way. Yeah, so just to give a few examples. So basically, science can really support you, can open your sight, and can help you create better athletes, become better coaches also. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And for me, I think in the States we see this a lot. Not at the youth level, it's crazy, but at the high school and even the college level, in basketball, I tend to judge a basketball coach on how much they don't talk. You'll see these coaches; they are directing every pass, every dribble, everything, instead of coaching their kids so that they can get in the flow of the game and make those decisions on their own. So it's not this, overthinking. Oh, I'm listening to my coach. Now I'm supposed to pass. Well, by that time it's too late. Okay, they need to have already done it. Boy, just fascinating stuff. I wish we had some more time. We're definitely going to have to bring you back on the podcast. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with a segment we call the athletic director's toolbox. And it could be the coach's toolbox or the leadership toolbox. But we're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsored this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new leader. But I'm only going to let you put 3 items in their toolbox. So let's take that break. And when we come back, we're going to see what Dr. Nadia Snegireva puts in her new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Athletic Surveys for their support of the podcast. You know, in my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for student athletes, for coaches, for teachers, how about parents? And here's the cool thing. The information that would come back on our surveys, almost always over the top, positive. I'm talking 98% approval. And it's going to be the same for you. You're still going to get to hear from those squeaky wheel parents, but the survey will allow you to hear their concerns, hopefully address them before they turn into something big. But having that data, that 98% approval, tremendously valuable, especially when you're visiting with that frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or how about even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've had a great visit with hopefully somebody we can call a friend of the show, Dr. Nadia Snegireva. Tremendous background in athletics, as an athlete, as a mountain climber, as a dancer. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new athletic director, a brand new leader, if you will, on their very first job. But I'm only going to let her put 3 tools in the toolbox. So, Nadia, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
All right. So the challenge is not to give too many. It's not easy to limit the choice to only 3. But I think so that I can link back to what we discussed and what I see works really well. One is this question of the month tool. Yeah. So as a leader, I think especially if you're an athletic director and you have several coaches under you, you have to, or I would strongly recommend to set up this culture of having a question, not assuming that you have all the answers, but actually admitting, okay, this is a burning question. I don't know what is the best way to solve this. How do I ensure that my athletes are not injured? How do I prevent the specific injuries that happen a lot? Or how do I improve their speed or improve their any aspect of performance if I don't know how to do it? So this kind of the let's call it question of the month club, yeah, where you have a list of questions, everybody votes, and then the top question gets answered every month by a dedicated scientist or someone with the scientific research background, so that they can also sift through the invalid research, yeah, so sort it out. Yeah, so that would be tool number 1. And then tool number 2, okay, so you can I think a good thing is also to help your coaches by giving them templates. So, for example, we spoke about periodization and about avoiding monotony and avoiding high spikes. So for that, for example, you can have an Excel-based template for creating a weekly program where you have your focus, and then you also have a percentage effort, however it is measured for your sports code. And then you can also have a limitation that if you have a very high effort day, the next day you are not able to insert another high effort or extremely low. So you avoid the spikes, and the tool, you can have the, it's very simple Excel rules where following 90, you cannot have another 90. It has to be below something, or following 20, you cannot go spiking up, something like that. So a very simple tool, and then you communicate it down to your coaches so that everybody is on the same page. Another tool I can, let me think what is, so I think individual approach is very important. It's not really a tool. It's just I can only emphasize that you really have to look at your every individual player, and you have to look at their own individual strengths and weaknesses. But then, speaking about specific tools, I think a good one is a big thing in research is the perception training, cognitive skills, your decision making, your visual reaction. And one of the great things that works really well is the occlusion training, where you have your it's called shutter glasses, where your vision is occluded for a certain period of time. So that, for example, let's say in interceptive sports, in tennis, yeah, you can occlude the moment when your opponent hits the ball, and then you can experiment with different, or you can occlude the moment when the ball is passing the net, yeah, and then you see so that your your athlete does not see this, and then you can experiment. Okay, where exactly is it most effective to improve their reaction time, their perception skills? Yeah, so occlusion training works really well. Very solid research there.
Boy, you saw me scribbling all these down. Just great, great tools. I love the your use of the word templates from the organizational standpoint. Great stuff. Boy, we're definitely going to bring you back. Nadia, one more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out, find out more about PASS, or as I said, just connect with you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah, the easiest is the website, sportscience.pro. Easy enough to remember. There is a contact form there. There are lots of case studies and examples and insights. And LinkedIn is another platform that I use a lot, me personally. And also there is a page for PASS, practical application of sports science.
Well, and again, for LinkedIn, that's how you and I connected. And listeners, it's sportscience.pro. There we go. Uh, Thanks again for sharing with our listeners. All the best moving forward. And I know you're on the other side of the world, but if you ever make it to Florida, let's definitely make plans to connect.
All right. Thank you very much, Jake. Thanks for the great questions and for having me here. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. We're definitely going to bring you back. For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories along with some best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast.